Yeah, yeah. I was looking about it, but it's more expensive. I mean, it's more cheap for you to build it yourself out of computers, parts. So I use yeah, I have.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to World Politics. I'm Kim Calhoun, and I'm one of the moderators. And Mark, our host, is on location this evening at one of the civic events discussing some of the political programs going on today. As I always say, our people, we just don't talk it. We walk it. We get out there, we get engaged, we get involved, and we just hear it from the horse's mouth. Mark is having a little bit of a problem with his camera, but I need for him to open the show because he's the man with all the news. So hold on just a minute and let's bring Mark in. Hey, Mark.
Over here at this, hopefully y'all can hear me and all, but yeah, I'm at this event that the New Growth folks are doing and all along those lines, and it's fascinating. It's all around inclusive economic development and a number of other things. So it is the New Growth Innovation Network. I've actually seen some friends of mine and all along those lines. So definitely there is some amazing conversations taking place. They've been talking about ways to get funding and even ways to have a diversity and a lot of other conversations. So I've even run into some old friends as well. So some friends that I had lost touch with and have now reconnected with and all in that space. So there's been some very fascinating conversations. So like you said, we like to be out and about, and this is all about economic development. We talk about marginalized communities and a number of other things as well. So there's all kinds of fascinating things that are happening that I'm learning a lot about and all along those lines. And hopefully folks will get a chance to check it out. It's a 3-day conference. Today is day 2. They'll wrap it up tomorrow by the early afternoon and all along those lines. But it is quite fascinating and quite interesting. So I'm just glad to be out and about and to be here in this public place to talk about it. And they've even been talking about a young lady from Waco, Texas. There was somebody I met from a number of other places. And of course, they've been talking about low-income families, wealth generation, and some of the stuff that we talk about on the network. So hopefully we'll be able to have them come into the future and have some of these discussions and all along those lines. So it's been quite fascinating. I've been learning a lot in the last day or two. And as y'all can tell, I went and got a trim because when I did the history talk, I was looking like Wolfman Jack, but now I'm looking less like Wolfman Jack and all in that space, but able to have these fascinating conversations and all in that way. I'll bring back in Kim Calhoun, see what she's got to say just about the notion of business development and the notion of having loss of the development in cities, because they've been fascinating. I met people from Utica, New York. I met a young gentleman that he and his business partner, he was incarcerated and now he's building the food truck. So they were actually learned in the prison system welding. So you may be seeing a food truck that's built by them because that is the company that they created and all along those lines. So it's just fascinating, some of these folks and some of the amazing innovations, businesses that I'm seeing and meeting and all in that space. But definitely just wanted to share that with you, share that with our audience, and see what else folks have got going on, because they've got these sessions. They're going to have a big party in about an hour, so folks can have another mixer and mingle and get to know folks and all in that way. But by that time, I should be home getting to do Coco show and all along those lines. But definitely, it's been fascinating. I've been learning a lot, and I hope that folks get some great knowledge just from learning about it. And I'll be reaching out to some of these folks to be guests as well.
Well, and that's great because we can always use some good innovators as guests, because that's what we're about here on Pod TV. As you know, I was attending a conference last night about AI technology, the interactivities of it with government officials. John Chambers, who is to me one of the best A-list celebrities in the country, corporate A-list corporate celebrities, and he was there. And there's something about him that when he says things are going to happen, they do. And I guess that's just his years of experience working in and around all of the different new technologies as we transferred from one type of technology to another. And it was quite fun to watch all the people there last night talk about how all of this is impacting not just, certain industries, but also the impact of the political campaigns and things like that. So it was good to see everyone. I think it shows that there is some hope for our economic situation, um, promising hope. But the one thing that concerned me was every word that came out of everyone's mouth was, "We need more money." So,
Yeah.
and everyone was campaigning for funds and money for their projects. So that was a bit, concerning to me. When I had to explain to them that one of the problems North Carolina has for all of this new innovation and technology is that we get the least amount of funding for startups and businesses. You go to San Francisco, they get 90% of startup funding comes to San Francisco. North Carolina gets 0.04%. Unfortunately, that number's
Wow. So Kim, I'm gonna turn it over to you and Sasha just really quickly because I'm gonna run out and try to get to a better location. But we got Sasha, who's a master investor.
Right. But what I would like to do, what I wanted to do is kind of talk about what was going on with the Trump hearing today. Sasha, were you able to watch any of it?
They don't provide coverage for that, so you have to go to YouTube to listen to different commentators or so on. So you cannot really sort of appreciate yourself what's really happening there. From comments, different comments, I can say that Cohen is doing pretty good job. Trump's defense. I don't understand their strategy because they're trying to prove that he's a liar, but it's been known for ages that Michael Cohen is a liar. And he lied a lot, and he confirmed it himself. So they're trying to bring even more lies from him. I don't think that they're succeeding in that, and it has nothing to do with the documents that are the basic for this case. So Michael Cohen can lie all he wants. It doesn't change anything.
Well, what bothers me is the case should just be about, were checks written, were they misrepresented in business, and is it fraud? And I mean, I don't see anyone going after them from the IRS for misrepresenting what it was. Now, when I talk to different people interpret different things, and again, we don't even have the inside track of recordings in the courtroom as well. We just get feedback from people sitting in there.
Sure.
So it depends on who you're listening to. But one person was mentioning that, he wrote the check to Cohen as a legal fee, and Cohen did this, so he could have just thought it was legal fees. I'm like, no, he knew better, right? Let's don't go down that road. The question is, was it for legal fees, or was it to pay him back for hush money? And you and I know in business, it's easy to trace the money. That's where you find the fraud. And so it just should be that simple. But I think something else is being covered up, because anytime they want to cover up other bigger things, they always throw sex scandal in there, because everybody's drawn to the TV set, which I turn it off then and start looking around for other things and snooping. But I find it to be a waste of our time. Menendez is on trial for taking bribes. I don't know how much evidence they have against him. I just feel like we're going underwater with a political campaign. I don't even know if the Republicans have a plan B for a person to replace Trump if he goes to prison, which everyone goes, oh, he's not going to prison. So, but according to what I've heard from Rick, who actually has just popped in, hi, Rick.
Hello.
Hello.
And other people, he's got about 90 more indictments against him to go through. But everyone says, oh, they're not even going to get to them before the election's over, so he can become president before he even goes to trial. Is that true?
Yeah, it's down to 88, and 34 of them are in this case. So he's got another 54 in the three other indictments. And yeah, it's less than 5% that any of them go to trial before the election.
Right. Well, because of our backlog of the courts and
Well, no, because of the legal
Right.
games that they played.
yeah,
Also, I mean, a lot of liberals have accused what's his name, the attorney general, of going too slow in the first place. That if he'd moved more, Merrick Garland had moved more expeditiously after January 6th, which was, more than 3 years ago, some of these cases could have made it to trial.
Rick, there's the Republicans are preparing charges against Merrick Garland, and possibly they will impeach him or for what he's done. I'm now on side of Republicans, and I would be very glad if they will somehow convict him and put him in jail. I'll be very happy, because Garland, he was protecting his ass, and that's why he wouldn't start anything against Trump after January 6th. For years, for 3 years, he hasn't done anything. What an idiot, what a useless idiot he is. And I'm pretty sure that they will be able to indict him and hopefully throw him in jail.
Well, I mean, eventually the whole story of what went on at the Department of Justice will come out, and it'll probably be, I don't know, too complicated to follow. That you got, on the one hand, you got Merrick Garland, and on the other hand, you have DOJ people appointed by Trump who remained in their positions. You got people at the FBI who are pro-Trump, and all those people are trying to throw sand in the gears to slow things down and prevent Trump from being investigated. And yeah, it's a mess, and I don't know how much culpability Garland holds. I was annoyed with Obama in that Obama gave Republicans the benefit of the doubt during his 8 years in office, and got played because he was no drama Obama, and he didn't want to come out as being angry and call out the Republicans, and they took advantage of that. It might be that Merrick Garland is the same, that he wanted to preserve civility and make the rule of law look like it was, civilized and things were normal. And he might have been played because of that. I don't know.
Well, that's the case. I think Department of Justice is in itself, for itself, by itself, and there is no other useful purpose in the Department of Justice. And I think that the head of the department has to be put in jail for a good 15 years or so, and the rest has to be just gone and replaced by a completely new department.
Well, a lot of officials have immunity. You may think they don't. You may think that there are wrongdoings that they do that would send them to jail. But even lying on transcripts in a courtroom, intentionally lying on transcripts, didn't get the state attorney general fired or in jail. Now, if I had done that, I would have gone to jail. So I'm just saying, a lot of these officials have either immunity or favors from other people that get pulled, and nothing's going to happen.
I don't understand something. If Merrick Garland had immunity, as you say, then why he wouldn't start after January 6th immediate action against Trump and all his people?
I don't know.
Why is that? I think he was trying to protect his ass, and that's why he moved so slowly. And only after the commission, January 6th commission in House, when they came up with so many facts, only then and not right away, but he spent another several months. Then he appointed special counsel and all this stuff. But it's too little, too late, because obviously Trump is very skillful how to use the legal system to his advantage, and he's doing a fantastic job. And I think only because of that he deserves to be a president. Because of course, he's a moron, he's a bandit, and you can call him many names.
Well,
But
if we're lucky, he doesn't get reelected, and then all the mistakes of the past few years will be moot because we'll have unlimited time to go after it.
Well, I think that, and everybody screams statutes of limitations, but people don't understand with fraud, statute of limitations don't run out. So, the idea is of a lot of what's going on. I'm just dumbified that he's still in the running, that people still love him this much. They not only love him, they defend everything that he has done, and they go, well, that just wasn't ethical. Yeah, he raped the woman, but you guys really didn't prove he raped the woman. He was just found guilty. But, that doesn't make him a bad guy or a bad president. And I'm like, God, what happened to ethics in this country? I mean, and then another concern that's happening is the uprising with, the students in the schools, just other things that are happening that nobody's paying true attention to. Nick even brought it up. Have we completely forgotten the borders? A month ago, everything was the border's this, the border's that, danger, danger, danger. And all of that's gone away. I don't think there really was danger. I think that was just made up.
Well, we'll probably get another. I mean, Fox News likes to drum up caravan and border concerns closer to the election. But Jatova yesterday, I haven't Googled it, but he said that the encounters at the border are down 40%. They're still high, but not as much as they were.
I don't even think they were that big of a problem when they were talking about it. I think it was just a Trump campaign. I really do. I think it was an anti-Democrat campaign, because because if there was a problem, it wouldn't have gone down that much that fast. So I think, everyone got intrigued into the Trump thing, and that really was never a problem. That's my belief. I think they were making it up. And I also believe it depends on what news station you watch, because all Trump's fans always yell at me and tell me I need to start watching Fox more, which now I don't even turn that on.
I try to watch Fox a little bit at a time until I get annoyed, but I go all among the 3 24-hour news stations. But even that gives you a false idea of the world, A, because they don't cover that much, and B, because 97% of Americans don't watch those stations. So you don't learn what regular Americans think by watching those.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if regular Americans are watching anything. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't think we're thinking. I think we're just angst and fighting, to be honest with you. I think everybody wants a reason to fight rather unite. And, we'll just see how this campaign starts to build out this summer and see what happens. But, I think we'll get a hung jury with the Trump trial. An appeal will go through. Nothing will happen.
Vegas odds, gambling odds, you can bet on it, give a 72% chance of conviction. So, I mean, there's a chance that the jury finds him guilty, and a pretty good.
It's pretty good odds. But remember, even if that will happen, there will be immediate appeal. Appeal will not be heard for next 2 years or so. So he's not going to go to jail in any case. And the election is there. The only thing is to defeat Trump once and for all, and Trumpism and all that idiocy is for Biden to win election. But Biden has to do something differently from what he's doing right now. Whatever he's doing doesn't win election.
And it's hard to tell who is winning because the polls are so wobbly. So the only thing to do is to, to vote, and get your friends to vote, and get your family to vote.
Yeah. In that department, Republicans are much better organized than Democrats. See, the Democrats are thinking, yeah, that's okay, that's fine. Well, the court will find who is guilty or who is not guilty. The Republicans, on the other hand, they're mobilized and they're coming to trial to support Trump. They're very skillful at showing weakness of Democrats in certain areas, like you mentioned, immigration, for example. So they're very skillful. And Democrats, it seems to me, they're meek. They don't fight to the point. I don't know what they're.
Yeah, the Democrats need better messaging. But look who came to court today. You got Matt Gaetz, who, is a statutory rapist. You've got Lauren Boebert, who gave a hand job to her date during a play. And you've got Anna Paulina Luna, who, went from working in a strip club to becoming a congresswoman. And nothing against strippers. I've been a stripper, but they're all pretty clowny and hacky. And I don't know, do they convince anybody? Do they change anybody's minds? Do they make Trump seem to have any more righteousness or dignity? Do they hold votes? Do they win votes? I don't know when this clowny stuff goes on.
Well, I think they have ability to intimidate jurors, witnesses, and whoever. When you see not only Trump is sitting there as a kind of animal, but he has supporters. The everyday different supporters are coming in, and in between they have all the speeches, and it's all televised 24 hours and so on. It has its effects. Why don't we agree on that?
I don't know. I mean, these are Manhattan jurors. So, looking at Boebert, if they know who Boebert is, will not persuade them or intimidate them.
Well, and I mean, I think we go down way too many different rabbit holes with all of this. I think it's gone way beyond all of the things that it needed to. If they stayed to the actual accusations, what the problem was, and did he or didn't he know that he was writing a check that would be considered fraud? Was he writing it for XYZ? Everyone says, oh, no, he was just writing a bunch of checks against the bills and thought he was writing, an attorney.
What bills? There were no bills. There were no bills.
I know. But that's, people go, I write bills all day, every day. I don't know why, an attorney billed me. I just pay him. And I go, that's not true. But, I think he knew. And what needs to happen is the jury needs to believe that he knew that he was writing a check to hush her up, and that was misrepresentation of the funds. And then the IRS should pounce on him.
I think what prosecution missed big time is to accuse him of actually act to derail the election of the United States. That charge would really be very, very serious. And they have essentially everything to try to prove that. Same as they're trying to play. See, the problem with this, what they're trying to prove, the misappropriation of funds and phony checks, invoices, or so on. That is on the border of actually misdemeanor and criminal charge. It's there, so it can go either way. Now, the attempt to derail election by hiding his facts and so on and paying for that would be way much more serious situation. And the sentence could have been much harsher in this respect. And I don't understand why they didn't charge him.
Just to get away from the case, didn't all three major stock market indices hit all-time highs yesterday?
I believe so.
And
Did they?
does anybody find that persuasive among the independents who can go either way? No.
It should. I think it should. And I thought that by June, the interest rates will start going slightly lower, but it appears to me it's not going to happen by June. And I don't understand this today's guest on the earlier show when he was saying that Feds hate Trump. And that was, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous, because if they hate Trump and they don't want him to be elected, then they would start lower interest rates, because that would definitely help Biden, number one. Number two, their high interest rates actually contribute to inflation. So essentially, by keeping the rates high, they keep inflation high, and until they will start to ratchet it down. And if they would hate Trump, they would already done it. So I don't think it's the right approach at all.
The one thing I think people overlook is that the Federal Reserve is actually controlled by independent people, right?
Okay.
And they are all very big business owners. So everything that they do is controlling interest for their companies as well, which I think is wrong now. I think we just need to do an overhaul of that as well, because in the beginning, it was intended to help the industry by allowing independent business people run the Federal Reserve and manage something like that. But it could be as simple as they're holding off until the right moment to do it. It could also be that maybe, I hate saying so conspiracy theory here, but maybe they're negotiating behind the scenes with the both of them, and they're deciding which one they're going to do, support.
Hasn't the Fed done a pretty good job of, the U.S. is in a better position with regard to inflation than any of the European countries. So like the Fed must be doing something right, even if only by accident.
I don't know that they've really improved their position any for us, though. And I think that's something that we need to take in consideration, whether we compare ourselves with other countries or not. A lot of countries have been in trouble. So, but I think that, we need to closely monitor the Feds, look at why they are sitting on their thumbs to adjust this situation. You got a government who says, oh, we can't do this, we can't do this. And then boom, snap their fingers and print money to send to China or to send to whomever they want. So you can't tell me you can't do that. You can do whatever you want.
So,
and I think personally, it's going to be all about controlling the campaign. I think one of two things: they're negotiating with the two parties, and they're trying to see which one's going to be the ones that they want to lean towards, or they're just waiting for the exact moment to do it, which will be in September.
So there's no chance they move before September, right, Sasha?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not. But I think that they're all independent, very wealthy business owners and
they're already
financiers. Why do they need to negotiate with any party, and about negotiate what? They can move the interest rates. And apparently they have only two levers. Is one, interest rates, they can move them up or down, and their opinion, which they are very vocal about. And sometimes they have so many people that some of them are saying one thing, some others saying almost the same thing, but slightly different, and so on. And you have to really analyze every word what they're saying. So essentially, they could, largely they can be ignored, and that's what I'm doing in my investments. It's non-event, because whatever they are saying is becoming everybody's knowledge, and whenever anything becomes everybody's knowledge, it's losing its value. Because what's the purpose of knowing something that everybody else knows already, right? So there's no value in that. So I don't care one way or another if they will raise interest rates. Okay, it will affect some people probably negatively more than positively. If they will lower, it's another way around. And nobody else can control it except Federal Reserve. So Federal Reserve, something what we discussed about as the Department of Justice, is that's a show in itself for itself, and it serves no positive or negative purpose at all. They're in it just for itself.
WhatsApp audio.
So, all right. So another thing that's going to affect the election, we got 6 months to go. Can Israel Gaza come to any kind of near conclusion, or will anything happen with that before
Well,
the
and
election?
here's something that concerns me right now. That I don't know if anyone caught this, but I was listening to various different news, and that we're sending funding to Israel. Fine, okay, whatever, for war to take care of business with Gaza, but then the flip side, we've just sent mega millions to build a floating air landing dock for CARE to mend and help and give them aid. So are we trying to kill them, or are we trying to, but our money's going both directions.
So yeah, it is. So
and I think it needs to stop.
26 billion to Israel, 17 goes to armaments, 9 billion goes to aid to Gaza. So
okay, so I don't understand. So we're funding, 26 million in war bullets, guns, armory, and 17 million for band-aids and water.
Yep.
Yesterday, I believe, yesterday morning, I was listening.
Kill them, but we're going to repair them so that you can kill them more, so that you can repair them more, so that you can kill. I mean, are we just
this is not in history? This isn't super unusual. We destroyed Germany before we rebuilt it. Vietnam. Somebody said.
Yeah, but we're giving warheads while we're sending our own people in to be shot. I don't understand.
Who are sending our own people to be shot? Whom are you referring to?
So we're sending people over on this floating airfield, medical people and volunteers to go over and help Gaza.
Yeah, the volunteers have to be well aware.
Over 17 million.
They have to be well aware that they are going to dangerous place. So they are taking risks, and whatever they're trying to please themselves, their families, if they think that they are doing the right thing, let them do it. Now, listen, yesterday.
No, but you don't understand, Sasha. You didn't hear me. Our government's writing a check for 26 million for warheads to kill them, and they're writing 17 million. For CARE.
I'm getting tired of your government. I'll tell you about your government. I listened yesterday interview with Netanyahu on CNBC. It's a major financial network. Now, the interview was very interesting, very instructive. And one of the questions was to Netanyahu what he thinks about American help. And he says, I do appreciate American help a lot. And I wish it will continue. And then he was immediately asked if Israel can do and finish the job with Hamas without American help. The answer was absolutely. There is no American help required, period. Keep your money, keep your arms, and so on, and stop the noises, please. Because Israel will finish the job with Hamas regardless. You want to send some arms?
You've got U.S. giving them money to support Gaza too. So I don't understand why we're giving money to both of them.
Keep your support to yourself. You have enough problems in the United States. Keep all your money. Don't send
if we kept all the money from the wars, we could pay off the student debt.
We're not going to stop aid to Israel. We've given aid to Israel for the 76 years that Israel's been in.
It's not true. It's not true. The help to Israel.
We stopped it once in the.
You didn't stop. Actually, in before 67, U.S. was always against Israel. U.S. was against Israel in Suez Channel War.
56 Suez Canal. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Asked them to flee from the Sinai territories, this peninsula, and that was going on and on since the beginning of Israel in 1948. U.S. never ever support Israel. It started in after 67 6 Days War. Americans, they're very practical people. So they say, oh, look at that, Israel beat everybody. He's a winner. Let's help the winner. We want to be with the winner. We don't need losers. Come on.
Right.
And
So
that's where the problem
my
started.
question is, can Israel conclude the war before the U.S. election? They don't. I mean, Israel doesn't care about our election.
Absolutely right. He doesn't care, not Netanyahu or Israel. I will tell you something, that a lot of people in Israel, majority, they hate Netanyahu. But now when there is a war, everybody is united behind Netanyahu, all the cabinet ministers, everybody. So things that, if Netanyahu will be gone, then we will do this and then we'll try this. It's all nonsense. Netanyahu, before the war will be over, he's not going to go anywhere. And even if he will, there will be election. And guess what? Netanyahu may not win election, but he is the only one who can put united front and unite the different parties, religious people and non-religious, and all that stuff. So he will be prime minister anyway until he'll die. But at least, there are elections. There are 30 plus different parties in Israel, and somehow it works. I don't know how it works, but somehow it does.
I think that, it's been an ongoing war since time began. I think we just need to step back and spend the money on us. And as far as Ukraine and Russia goes, I think Putin needs to put his warheads down. I think weak minds, weak leaders with no courage do what Putin did, because it takes a real man to sit down and say, we don't need to be doing this. And I find it very offensive that he goes out and starts a war because he's afraid that they're going to team up with NATO when he's teamed up with an organization called BRICS. So, there's just so much inconsistent leadership out there. I think that war needs to end as well. But we've got other situations brewing in the world. And I don't think anything that we are doing is helping. I don't. I mean, even helping Ukraine, I don't think that helped the situation. I think we should have gone in and sat down with Putin and said, enough.
Unless Trump is elected, the Ukraine-Russia will not end for years. Now, if Trump gets elected, Ukraine may get scared that support for Ukraine may go away, and they may start negotiating for peace, which involves giving up more than 10% of their country to Russia. But if Biden gets reelected, then that war is going to keep going and going.
Oh yeah,
but if that's all they want, I would give up the 10% to stop the warheads. I would just, as a leader, I would say, you want 10%, take it.
But right now it's 15%. They'd be, or 17% of the country is in Russian hands. They'd be lucky to get 10%. And I don't, would you get Russia to back away from?
It will be more than 40%, and most, in some scenarios, all 100%. Because if Putin can grab 40%, why would he stop at 40%? Why not 100? What will he stop him? What?
I think sometimes people will go, you know what, we'll settle, but because a win's a win. And sometimes, but Putin might not be that kind of person. I mean, he's already proven to be, show that he's very weak and weak-minded, because he had to use guns and everything else rather than words. I mean, and it was all over the fact of you can't join that club, but I can join this club. I mean, men and their clubs. But I think these things need to be settled, and I don't think people are trying to. I really don't.
Do you understand, Kim, that there are some wars that were never settled and they were going on until one of the side wouldn't unconditionally surrender? Remember Second World War, for example. Why couldn't they settle in 1943 and maybe 44 and even early in 45? So there would be no nuclear attack against Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Why
think
would they?
the fact that we are completely insane and have improved it by sending nuclear warheads to abolish complete countries has scared people. You know, insanity scares people, and that has embedded a fear in people for forever. And
rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, I think that that was wrong. But it has that one time has.
You know, there are other points of view that American, by this action, they saved 1 million plus lives of American soldiers who would otherwise have to go from island to island, and Japanese were fighting like crazy for every inch of territory. And there would be at least 1 million American soldiers. I'm not talking about Japanese people. Japanese people would lose even more. But Americans would lose 1 million.
You know what I suggest? Somebody asked me today, how do you suggest to settle these wars? I suggest the two leaders that are sending out their men and women to be killed and slaughtered to go into a coliseum and fight it out.
Yeah, I mean that's the Star Trek solution. Captain Kirk fights the lizard monster. But how would you enforce that? The UN can't enforce anything. You have to look practically. Putin, there's nobody to stop Putin. Putin's 70 years old. There were rumors he was sick and that this was a final thing he wanted to do before he died. But it's been 2 years and there's been no evidence that he's in bad health.
He is very good health. He is he's swimming every day. He's much healthier than both Biden and Trump.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be there when these two men will be in their graves and Putin will still rule Russia. Get realistic about it.
Yeah, I think Putin's going to be around a while unless somebody kills him.
And I've heard, and I don't know, Sasha knows better, that if Putin did somehow get driven from office or killed, that the people under him are no better and would pursue the same policies, right?
There will be no change. There will be exactly the same thing, unless all Ukraine has to do is to go through the corridor on the south and get Crimea. If Ukraine will get Crimea, that will spell the end of the war because there is nothing to fight for. Because Crimea was almost like a mythology for Putin, because Crimea, it was Russian territory for centuries or so on. In fact, it's not true. It was rather Tatars territory. It was Greek territory centuries ago. So if Ukrainians will take over Crimea, that spells the end of war and perhaps the end of Putin too. Because if he will lose, it was such a euphoria 10 years ago when they grabbed Crimea, and Obama asked Ukrainians not to resist, not to shoot, because Ukrainians could resist even 10 years ago, but they didn't. And there was annexation of Crimea, and that's all started. So now Putin now understood the message. Go ahead, Mr. Putin, do it. Take more territories. Take more.
That was no drama Obama, that he tried to be low key. But how is it? Give us odds that Ukraine can take Crimea.
90%.
In the next 6 months, in the next year?
Well,
what?
I think faster, but I would say 3-4 months. because right now the ATACMS missiles, they are coming and they are already make their work. United Kingdom already announced they send a lot of weapons to Ukraine, including Storm Shadow missiles, which are in the class of ATACMS, if you want. They are different, but they're similar. And UK said that Ukraine can use it on any targets whatsoever. It's not like Biden says that you don't should not use American weapons against Russian on the Russian territory. So how does it work? So Russia can use any weapons, Russian weapons, Chinese or North Korean or Iranian drones or so on. They can use against any place in Ukraine. But Ukraine, okay, they're getting some weapons from United States, but they can use it only in Ukraine. What, against themselves?
So when do the U.S. weapons get there? And then once they're there, how long does it take to train the Ukrainian military in using them?
Very quickly. First of all, they're not new weapon because Ukraine has already got Storm Shadow from UK now for several months. They're getting ATACMS. It's not new. The only thing what's new will be it's F-16s. Although Ukrainians already had training and so on, but it's fairly complicated weapon because it has several different uses. It could be used for tactical strengths. It could be used for anti-missile defense against Russian missiles. It could be used against Russian fighters, the planes, and actually, Russians are quite scared, and the one reason why they started this attack against Kharkiv, which is the second largest city with 2 million people, they understand that there's a certain gap between the weapons from the United States being sent, and by the time that they will be actually received and getting on a front line and so on, there will be some kind of a gap, maybe 2, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, and they're trying to use that to their advantage. But there will be still another 2, 3 difficult weeks, and after that, Ukrainians will get on a roll.
Well, so some update on Robert Fico, the prime minister who was shot 5 times. He looks like he's going to survive. One tough dude, but in interrogating the suspect, it was somewhat of a political move against them to stop funding the Ukrainian war, funding Ukrainian. So
I thought that guy was pro-Russia.
He is very pro-Russia. They have done some interrogation and the news.
No, wait. I thought the leader was pro-Russia. Am I confused?
So he said that the suspect told the law enforcement that he disagreed with FICO's policy and that he decided to act after recent presidential election, which saw a FICO ally. The reasons were the decisions to abolish the special prosecutor's office, to stop supplying the military assistance to Ukraine.
So, so they've stopped supplying assistance to you. The new guy, the leader who got shot, had stopped aid to Ukraine. So he was on Russia's side. So
yeah,
so
because he was on Russia's side.
Yeah, so the shooter is kind of pro-Ukraine.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, I know it sounded backwards, but it's all about the war, right? He's, now politicians are being shot over whether they're supporting or not supporting. I mean, nobody's, it's going to get nasty. You're going to start seeing individual uprisings like this. And, I think that it's getting dangerous. And I mean, is Russia sending out people to kill people? I mean, wasn't there something else?
Russia's been doing that for decades. For a century.
Happen? Like, wasn't there somebody else recently that died that was against Russia?
To understand what's happening in this war, you must understand that there was a parity between Soviet Union in the Western world. Soviet Union had, first of all, 15 republics, and then they had also satellite countries such as Poland and Czech Republic, Hungary, and 5, 6 different countries. And Finland was absolutely neutral to Russia. Okay, much difference between now that they are in NATO and they are getting all the way fight Russia every inch. So Russia lost all that in 1991. They first of all they lost their own country. They lost Soviet Union, no more. Then they lost all the satellite countries like Poland, Czech Republic, and all others. And Putin is on a mission to take a revenge for all this humiliation, for loss of the Cold War and all that. And he wants to rebuild at least the Soviet Union, to get Ukraine, to get Baltic republics, to get Belarus is already his, and all this weak Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and all that stuff. He will do it in half an hour. I mean, that's not a big deal for him. So in this scenario, then next move will be Baltic countries, it will be Poland, it will be Czech Republic, and all that stuff. So he will essentially create status quo, and as a result, he will be much stronger because he will be able to utilize the economies of all these countries. Now, he is an initiator of the BRICS. The purpose of BRICS only one, is to deflate US dollar and finish US dollar as a reserve currency. That's the only goal of BRICS, because they're so bizarre, that countries so different, and there's nothing unites them. If you're talking about Russia here, Brazil is over there, and South Africa now, China, and whoever else is there, it's bizarre. There's absolutely no common interests, no common language or economy, or just nothing. It's only one thing, is to get rid of US dollars as reserve currency.
Will they succeed?
Probably not. And even if they will succeed, it will take 40, 50 years, if no longer. And US has to do a lot of wrong things for that to work out. I don't think that it's a reality. They will try hard, though.
So let's talk about, can we talk about one more crisis area, which is Taiwan? Yeah. Like, does the fate of Taiwan depend on who gets elected president?
You mean in United States?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good question. In what direction do you think would work in favor of one or the other?
I think Ukraine is the key to Taiwan. If China sees that there is a great resistance to Russia from the Western powers, and they were able to defend Ukraine and eventually get Russia out of there, then China will not even dream about to do anything against Taiwan, because they will understand that they will have resistance of essentially all civilized world, and they will not be able to do it. However, they will see that Ukraine will be said that, oh, well, maybe you should just surrender, maybe you should do this, gives them not 100%, but only 65% or so on. Then they will understand, okay, it's time to take Taiwan over, because nobody is going to resist. That's very simple, and it doesn't, in my opinion, depend on who is winning election in the United States. The answer is the same.
Okay.
So whenever Trump was saying that he could finish war in Ukraine in 1 day or in a few hours or whatever it is, I think Zelensky commented on that, Mr. Trump, please come over and explain to me how you are going to do that, because it's nothing.
So you talked about the U.S. remaining the reserve currency. And David Walker, every week we have a show where David Walker says we've got a huge, deficit and debt, and we need to fix it or we're screwed. Do you think we're screwed if we don't fix the debt?
No, I don't think so.
We've had that debt a long time.
U.S. can have as much debt as the rest of the world put together, because US is the only one country in the world that can print US dollars. And remember, with all these wars and so on, demand for US dollar just keep growing. Everybody wants to be in
yeah.
US dollars.
And looking at the way credit rating companies work, the United States must have an outstanding credit score. But because the more in debt you are, it seems like the higher your score goes, and the better you are. No, I don't think that, I mean, I think we need to get some things under budget. Okay. I think we need to stop sending money overseas and take care of our own for a while. I think Sasha's dead on that. I think we need to start taking care of our own, focus on what we need. But I mean, the debt's been there forever, and we haven't done.
And I don't think we're giving up foreign aid. We have 800 military bases on foreign soil. And even under Trump, I don't think any of those bases went away.
And that costs much more than whatever help you send to either Ukraine or Israel. Now, what I want to correct myself, I'm not against U.S. help to either Ukraine or Israel or any other countries whenever they want to help. I'm against U.S. dictating with that help what the country should do, whether they should attack Rafah or they should give half of its territory or whatever. I'm against that. You want to send money, you're always welcome. You don't want to send money, please keep it. But don't try to dictate what to do, especially when country.
I think we shouldn't send aid to self-inflicted problems. And I think that, if they have hurricanes or natural disasters, fires, destruction or just wrongful bombing, like what Putin did to Ukraine, or just things like that. Go in, help send the care, clean it up, fix the people, send, whatever you need to take care of that. But I just funding wars is just getting exhausting. I think it's time to just sit back, stop the fun, sit down, talk like grown-ups and say, okay, we know a lot of people have their, a lot of people are dead. There's a lot of anger, a lot of vengeance, but it's time to stop. I mean, we've had our Hatfields and McCoys in our own country, right? It doesn't go anywhere. I mean,
we're not grown-ups. We do things the way we've always done. You have the lady who touched her date's crotch, going to support Trump. I mean, she represents a chunk of Colorado. We have we're not grown-ups.
No, we're not. We're sex deprived, craving people that need to fix ourselves. We really do. And, our education system is so far down the tubes. I don't think there's a recovery for it. I really don't. I mean, when you've got children going to school and their prayer every morning is, dear God, don't let me get shot. I mean, that's wrong. Our prisons are safer than our schools, and that's wrong. So, I mean,
so I had a thought that people are horses, and I'll explain. 120 years ago, the biggest ecological challenge in big cities was horses, because in Manhattan every day 100,000, 150,000 horses came to Manhattan to work, and they peed and they pooped and they died in the streets, and the streets were just filled with filth this deep. And everybody was like, how do we fix this problem? And the deal is, they never fixed the problem. They never fixed horses. Just horses went away when cars came and trucks came and replaced the horse problem with a new set of problems. And the problems we have as people with our sex issues and with our wars, I don't know that you'll ever fix people. You'll just replace people with the next thing that comes along, which are going to be these mixes of half people, half AI, that are going to have, a whole set of new solutions and new weird problems.
Well, and I think that leads the conversation to next week as well. How is AI going to control our lives, government-wise? But yes, Sasha.
I think I've said it several times. All U.S. needs is the mandatory military service from all the guys from 18 years old to 19 or 19 to 20 or whatever it might be, and maybe even 2 years better than 1 year, because this way Americans will feel as a family, they feel like one nation, because right now there is no nation. There are people a little bit over here and a little bit over there, they're fighting among themselves or so on. It's not a nation. If American will meet some kind of a threat similar to 9/11, that could unite nation. But God forbid if America really.
Yeah,
But I don't know how you're largely right. We're looking at my dad's letters. My dad, my father-in-law, my stepdad, they all, came up through the draft. They all served. But the draft ended in 1972, 52 years ago. I don't think modern selfish Americans would put up with a draft. I mean, the protests we have now are nothing compared to the protests around Vietnam and the draft 50
Please
years.
watch movie The Officer and the Gentleman.
Gentlemen, yeah, I know.
You will see
Or
exactly.
Top Gun gets you in there and wants you to go join them. Even I want to join after watching those. But you know what, everyone, this has been a fabulous conversation. We're just trying to open up the doors to conversations to enlighten other views, point of views, perceptions of what could be going on out there. If you've got some ideas, send them to us. Until then, everyone stay safe, be healthy and wealthy, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.